Fun. Testing, testing. That should be back. So I've been talking this whole time. Thanks so much, everyone, for letting me know there was no sound. No, yeah, much better. So Loopback is what I use as my like virtual audio source, which is really amazing because I can connect these different like if I want to grab audio from like my browser and from my terminal and from Pretzel or something like that, I can do all these things and it works really, really well. But sometimes it just needs to be restarted, which is super weird. So I was just talking for like however long for a while. That was just my test. That was my bait. That would actually be a good way to get engagement. It's like just turn off your audio and pretend that it all of a sudden didn't work. Because I'm sure people, as we're saying, will be happy to chime in. So we are at old times now, only black and white. Yeah, we'll do no audio and black and white, and it'll be the best stream that we've ever had. I'm really excited about this stream, by the way. There's a couple of cool stuff, but a couple of cool things. So Christian, I said hey to you, and I was curious what time it is for you. It's probably like let's see, probably 8:15 for you. I imagine it's got to be a little late. So Christian, how are things going? Martin on YouTube, what's going on? Welcome, Mark. Always get to see you, Mark, at least for a little bit. Hopefully, I can get you into our wins of the week and learn, build, teach sometime soon to get to actually talk to you. 8:15 for Christian out in Germany. Very cool. YK Dojo also shout out who someone that I followed recently. I actually thought I had done that beforehand. But shout out to YK Dojo for streaming on Twitch as well. So you should go and check out his stuff. Let's see. So what was I saying? Mark, I hope you make it to wins of the week sometime soon. Only if you stream at 1.5 speed and play carnival music along with the black and white streams. Absolutely. That's 100% what I'm going to do. That is a great idea. Brian, howdy. Brian is doing work with our Deals for Devs project. We'll actually see that in a second. And super happy to have you on board. And thanks for coming to office hours yesterday. And I get so excited, honestly. Like, I imagine people are excited to be a part of the project as well. I get so excited for having other people get excited about it. Like, it gives me a lot of energy. So to have you and everyone else be involved is super cool. And for reference, in case need a little context, this is the Deals for Devs project. This is actually what I'm going to do some work on here in a minute. And it's become really a community-led project where we're really trying to make it like, I haven't been doing almost any dev work, although I will today. And so we're kind of funneling that through the community for people to get experience hands-on with real world-ish projects. So, oh, Mark, weekly project meeting that has been conflicting with wins of the week. That really sucks. Hopefully, well, I don't know. I'd be open to changing it. The time didn't mean a whole lot to me. I don't know if we want to change it like just for Mark, but if it made sense, if it was more convenient for more people, we could definitely consider it. Ricardo, how's it going? What's everybody up to? Anybody working on anything fun today? Brian, can express how excited I am. That gets me so freaking excited and happy to have people involved. Mark, don't just do it for me. Fair enough. Yeah. The question, what we were talking about, Brian, because I started talking about you. OBS working after yesterday. So I'm still having really big streaming issues. I don't know. So if I do, I'm curious for people to kind of chime in here. So as a streamer, I'm going to share my screen really quickly. I'll come back to the cool Xata stuff in a minute. But as a streamer, here's what numbers look like. Let's see. So plenty coming down, I would think. And then the real test is like up speed, I would say. And let's see what this is. But I swear my Wi-Fi, when I'm using OBS specifically, just like drops out completely. And anyway, it leads to a pretty poor experience. This is actually usually higher. And I wonder if there's some combination of like, if my wife is on a call, that could affect it too. But for some reason, I don't have issues in StreamYard, even though I have issues in OBS. And anyway, so I don't really know what to do with that, but I've got to figure that out. So OBS has really been struggling. and I'm probably just going to use StreamYard for now. Although I love having that control in OBS to do other things. I still need to schedule some time with, I mean, anybody that can help, but Chris Wick specifically offered to help kind of equipment and set it up and stuff for Wi-Fi. So one of the things we'll figure out eventually. Um, Andy, welcome. What's going on? Your maps and filter video made it rock solid. That's so cool in my head, in your mind. That's awesome. I've kind of gotten away from those, and I feel like in some ways I need to do more of that. Like get back to some of that fundamental stuff. It's kind of an interesting balance of like creating the content that's valuable for other people versus the stuff that I'm like most interested in. Because I'm very comfortable with that stuff. It's fairly beginner, so it's not something that I think about on a regular basis, but it also is really useful content. So that's actually really helpful. And if anybody watches any of my YouTube content, would consistently love feedback on like what do you like, what do you miss, what do you wish there was more of. So James says, anyone know how to deploy an Next.js site that is server rendered on AWS S3? I can't do it right. I would just need to use something like a Node.js container. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I've never used S3, so I don't know. I think the answer is probably Amplify, AWS Amplify. So that's probably the way to go, I would say, because Amplify is kind of made for. I'm speaking a little bit out of turn. I'll actually have an opportunity to try Amplify soon. Um, but I've never used it. But I like my understanding is that's what this is like meant to be. So I would look at this. Here's a link. James. There you go. So check that out and see if that helps. Martin is trying to wrap his head around vector databases and semantic search. Me too. Yeah, that's fair. I would say the same thing. I have a little bit of an understanding. I've gotten to work with Xata on this. I've gotten to talk to them and have them answer some questions for me, which has been really helpful. Yeah, I think the idea of vector databases is you're able to represent your data in any way that becomes a vector, but you store your data in something that has like these points, and you can have associations between points, like how close are these points. I have no idea how that actually works, but I think that's the idea, is that data gets represented by those vectors, those points, and then you can kind of search along those vectors to see similarity in semantic search. Like how that works, I don't fully know. So yeah, it's cool. Brian never got into streaming, did it once or twice. There was a nice guide, outline settings that may fix issues. Yeah, send me a DM. Let me know. Martin is saying exactly about the database search and stuff. Yeah. Nadeem said, why Shopify migrated towards this? I don't know if there's something missing in that comment that I don't see. Oh, Mark is asking, were you hardwired before with the old setup? No, I've actually never been hardwired, which is kind of wild. And that obviously is a first answer for this. The problem for me is that our router is down on the first floor and my office is up on the third floor. So I don't know how, like, I think I need to get like a mesh network and a better router, and maybe there's a way I can hardwire a line to come up. I don't know. Those are things I have to figure out. So Christian, we work with vector database on Supabase. That's cool. So vector stuff must be new-ish in Supabase, I would think. I think everyone is adding this sort of stuff. It is really cool. I'll say, like, I am a partner with Xata. You'll see Xata in what I'm going to do today, but they've had that for a little while, and it is really neat. So, and search built in as well. Shopify with Prisma. Nadeem, I'm not sure what is there like an announcement that you're referencing that you can link to, maybe? I'm not sure. Mark said, yeah, Signal going through all those walls, floors isn't great. I agree with you. That's and a thing that I do understand, because I don't understand a whole lot. But I feel like my numbers always look pretty good when I do a speed test, but occasionally they just like dive bomb, and I just lose it completely. And I mean that's probably still the basic answer. I'm just surprised at most of the time my numbers are really good. I'm surprised how they are, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. Christian, so cool that you're getting to work with Superbase. That's a lot of fun. So we mentioned, let's see, Martin was asking about AWS Amplify. So actually, we'll do some work, excuse me, with them, I think in May. And I'll do a live stream where someone's going to kind of show me the new AWS Amplify. And then I'll do a video on that on YouTube as well. So maybe I'll tie it into Next.js and you can see that there. Again, it's not going to be till like later May. So it's going to be a little while. But JP, what's going on, man? How is it going? Nice. Yeah. Work quite a lot with Supabase. That's a lot of fun. I do want to share. Let me get my screen back up because there's a couple of cool things that are going on that I just think are worth noting. So first is postman.com/postcon. This is Postman's conference. I will be in San Francisco for this at the end of April and the first day or two in May. And I'm really looking forward to this. I'm speaking, and then we're also going to have probably someone else from the Compressed podcast there to do some live interviews and things like that too. I think I need to go back and confirm this. I think I have a ticket to give away for this. So if anybody happens to be in San Francisco, whether you live there or you're just in town around this time and you want to go, send me a DM. Because I would love to have some people from the community be able to go to this as well. But that's going to be a lot of fun. And also, what's going on? Sentry launch week is going on. Sentry is another partner, full transparency, that I work with, and I have been learning a lot more about. And they've had some really cool features launch. One is that they're supporting INP. Have people looked into this? Chrome Web Vital. So I always have to make sure I get this right. So interaction to next paint. There's actually a slight, if anybody's an expert at this or like fairly knowledgeable at this, there's a slight thing that I don't understand with INP. But INP is meant to measure the delay between a user interaction and basically feedback, like when something actually happens on the screen. What I don't know is I had a demo that I thought would trigger poor INP. And the demo was like you hit a subscribe button and then you don't show any UI update for like 4 seconds. I thought that would definitively trigger like poor in INP, but there seems to be a little bit of something I'm not sure about, which is whether or not you have to actually be blocking the main thread, because it talks about like basically being able to re-render. And I think that maybe like, I think what's happening is I'm hitting this button. Nothing is updating on the UI. It's making async fetch requests to the backend where it has a delay of like 4 seconds. And so nothing's happening, but I'm not blocking the main thread. And then I was getting good IMP scores, even though I was waiting for 4 seconds before showing UI feedback to the user. And I think that's because the main thread itself wasn't actually blocked. So the UI could have re-rendered, it just didn't. So I have to confirm one way or another. If anybody has more knowledge on that, let me know. Captain Hollywood K. Burr. What's going on? That's an awesome name, by the way. First time chat from you. So 1, welcome. And then 2, anybody that's new, I love to get to know people a little bit. So if you're comfortable, love to know like what your favorite tech stack is, how long you've been doing it, and a fun fact about yourself. I always think that's like such a fun conversation starter for developers as a fun fact. So if you're comfortable, share all of those. But welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. Christian, I would love to see the comprehensive Supabase book when it's done. That'd be awesome. But yeah, so IMP is a new metric. It's replacing, gosh, what is it? It replaces FID, which is first input delay. And first input delay was only based on like the delay of like initially loading the screen, I believe. And so basically they're replacing that with another metric that can track, which is IMP, which can track the delay between user interaction and feedback throughout the entirety of their experience on the page, not just like on the initial page. I don't know if it for FID. I don't know if that was like I'm trying to load a page and I click a button before all the JavaScript is loaded. Maybe that may be the example. But then INP will go all the way through their interactions on the page. So anyway, Sentry is now supporting that, which I think is super cool. The amount of this is going to look a little weird. I'll have to change my filter, but because I don't have a whole lot of traffic on this yet. But if I go to my Vercel test, this is my test environment in Vercel. for actually, this should be. Oh, this is issue. So inside of Web Vitals, this is pretty neat. I think they show you all of your scores in here. So I think I had like one load that was really bad, and so I got like if we look in time to first byte, you can see under the homepage load, you can see there's going to be like one really bad one, or actually two of them. One really bad one, which was 2.5 seconds or something. So I don't know why that one in particular happened, but the amount of information that they show you here is wild. And you can see that they have the IMP here. So they support IMP. You can track it through all the traces and things. That's really cool. The other thing is they just launched, and I have to set up my demo for this, is they can do, because Sentry is already tracking errors, they've now released this feature that uses AI to create a PR on your code based on the error that it sees. So if you go to your issues, you can tell it, I want you to create a PR for this. And it'll go out and use AI to try to come up with a solution and create that PR, which is pretty wild. So more to come on that. But I think it's super cool. Captain Hollywood, a new business owner looking to find out about app development. Fun fact, I'm a voice actor. Former on camera actor. K-Burr is the Burbank Airport. I like flight simming. Wow, that's cool. There's a lot in that. Very cool. So when you're looking into app development, are you looking to like have somebody do development for you? Are you looking to learn it yourself? Like if you're looking to learn yourself, what stage are you in? Have you done anything hands-on yet? Are you just kind of exploring anything? Yeah, anything there. After engaging some developers through normal channels, it floored me to learn it would cost 50K or so. App development can be extremely expensive. So is that like a motivator for you to learn maybe how to build something yourself? A lot of people have gotten their start that way. Kevin, what's going on YouTube? How you doing? How you doing? We're talking about we just talked about a little bit about launchery week, Sentry launch week. They've got some really cool stuff going on. And then I mentioned the Postman Conf. Do I still have a link? I'll put a link in here for you in case you hadn't seen it. If you happen to be in San Francisco and are interested in coming, let me know. Do I have this thing still? There it is. Yeah. So we talk about those two things, and then there's also what I'm going to work on today, a little bit hands-on, is an update migration inside of Xata. That's super cool. So let's see, Captain, yes, and ADHD making like wearing a wet blanket with the learning, but yes, I want to see how far I can take it on my own. Very cool. That's awesome. I will say there anytime, and the reason a lot of this stuff is really expensive is because every time you think about like, oh, I just want a simple app, it's always way more than you think it is. So just know that up front. It'll be there's a lot that goes into building applications on mobile, web, etc. So anyway, just know that, and but also know that lots of people have gotten kind of their start for the same reason. There is so many launches. So what's wild, I'm partners, like sponsored partner, with Xata and Sentry, and they both happen to have a launch week this week. So I had been going through Sentry stuff like all of last week, kind of testing out, reading some of their blog posts and stuff, which has been a ton of fun. And I knew it was coming. And then I was talking to Xata, and they were like, "Yeah, we're doing a launch week next week too." I was like, "What?" So anyway, lots of really good, fun stuff. Stony Eagle, what's going on? Welcome, welcome. Captain Hollywood, just an audio playback app. Yeah, so it's funny how we say things like it's just a so and so app. Trust me, it's way more complicated than you think it is, and then you get into it and you kind of learn more about it. So it'll be a fun journey for you. Kevin, great question. Why not using AstroDB? Skeptical people would tell you that it's because I am paid to work on Xata content. Really, the way the relationship is I'm just using Xata to do things like build in public and create content around that. So anyway, I've been using Xata for months before AstroDB got announced. And I think AstroDB is super exciting. I'm excited to try it out, but it won't be with this project. So probably something else. I am a big fan of, like, legitimately big fan of Xata. So so historically they've been kind of a wrapper around Postgres, and they didn't give you access directly to Postgres. Now what you get is you get direct access to Postgres, which means you can use Prisma or Drizzle as an ORM to sit in front of that and then also take advantage of features that they have like vector search, like file storage, like searching built in. It actually copies data over to Algolia. So there's a lot of really good features in there that are just pretty cool. So Stony, did I say Stony Eagle? Is that why? Is that the full name that you're referencing? I don't know. Working on the music database schema and insert. So much fun. How are you? I'm doing good. Um, yeah, doing good. I've been crazy busy. And one goal that I have, which is impossible to do, is to just do less or take on less things because I want to do everything. I want to do, and people can probably relate to this. Like, I get people reaching out to me about collaborations and podcasts and live streams and all kinds of things. And it's all so much fun. But I really am trying to work on getting more, I don't, not dedicated, more focused, more, I don't know, turning things down, which is very hard for me. So I've been busy. Still need to figure out some Wi-Fi issues, which is why I'm streaming through StreamYard today. And I will do that until I get an upgrade on router and that sort of stuff. Say, sorry, I have a stream schedule to uphold to get out of things. If only I had a specific stream schedule, which is something I should, and I'll get there. But Brian, yeah, good question. So, or I say good question. I haven't read the question yet. I'm reading this live. Not to divert the conversation, totally cool. Regarding deals for devs, I've been going back and forth and just trying to get better at TDD. Are we trying to integrate that into deals for devs at all? So here's one thing that you may find interesting. I actually have very little experience with testing. It's funny how many people would probably tell you something similar. So one, I think getting tests into this project would be a huge deal just to start. I think it would be really, really neat to get to the point of doing TDD as well. I don't like, I think people will debate about like, is the value of TDD worth more than the time it takes to like, that it slows you down a little bit? Cause it does. Like if you're doing tests every single thing, it slows you down a little bit. Like it's a different process. So I think people will debate that, but I think it would be a great exercise for me. I think it would be a great exercise for the community. I think it'd be a great realistic exercise for people getting world experience. So short answer is I think that would be great to do TDD. I think we have a long way to go to get there. The first thing would be writing a hello world test and getting that into the code base and having that be run on builds and stuff. And that would be a huge step forward. But I think that would be great. And if and this is cool because as a maintainer, I can kind of put onus on other people and not have to do everything myself. If that's something you're interested in and you wanted to take an attempt to create a first test and start to experiment and us figure out together what the framework is to do that, that would be awesome. That'd be fantastic. By the way, no one's really going to care about this, I wouldn't think, but I made, and you can't really see stuff. It's not going to look pretty. It's not an Instagram picture, but I made homemade whipped cream for the first time. And I have it on my iced coffee here, which I think is kind of cool. So, all right. So the big thing that I was going to do is I have this up here. I'm gonna say somewhere, and I almost started singing like "Over the Rainbow." Oh, also one additional cool thing, I've been building out the landing page for Potluck Pal, which is just a demo app that uses Xata Sentry Kind for authentication, another sponsor of mine. And I think it looks pretty good. This is all from a designer who did all this, and I just built the code for this just recently. So I think it's looking pretty good. So Sony says, as long as I get to make fun of whatever you do, I do not mind what you do. That sounds pretty spot on. So, all right. So there was one. Okay. So I want to go to GitHub. Todd Libby. What's going on, man? Todd. So I think I know the answer to this, but you are Todd. You decided you're fully retired now. And what do you do with your time besides eat lobster? JB, thank you. Retirement. Yeah. Okay. So I was pretty sure that was right. And I wasn't 100% sure. So yeah, what's been up for you? Are you still traveling? I play video games, the nap. Nice. Are you still doing the podcast? Are you still doing talks? Are you still doing some of that stuff? Awesome. Brian, when learning from top, remind me what the Odin project. There we go. So I have some articles, etc., that could be useful to why TD is beneficial. I'll send you that stuff later, but sure, I'd love to. Brian, I think that would be fantastic. I would be very excited about that as well. So taking the year off from podcast, speaking at KCDC and DevNexus, nice. I haven't applied to KCDC in a couple years. I think I might need to. I think I need to try to come back to KCDC because that's a fun one. Possibly Magnolia and Connect Tech. I wonder when has is Magnolia Conf, has that been announced, or Magnolia JS Conf? Has the dates been announced? It will return. Because Todd, I'm like a few hours. Magnolia hasn't been announced yet. Okay, cool. I'm only a few hours away, so I would have come down last year, but I had other things going on. So I may just like drive down and stay a night and hang out. And then you said Connect Tech. When is the actual event for Connect Tech? I guess it's this one. Doop doop doop. Great to see you again. Absolutely, I agree. Okay, so 24 through 26. This is another one that I keep hearing really good things about, and oh, what is? Oh, that's last year's schedule. So this is. Oh, they haven't. Okay, gotcha. That was last year. That's hilarious. Todd, did you just bring me to this page subconsciously so I could highlight your talk on here? Todd, do you have a link to their CFP, or is this like a? Oh, it's a subdomain. So if I go to Connect Tech, does it just redirect to that, or is there a 24? Okay, they're in sessionize. Okay. October is a hard month. It's my wife's birthday. It's our anniversary, and we already have some travel. Yeah, Brian, we got it. Yeah, but the CFP is not out. What did you say? I thought you said CFP. Oh, it comes out April 1st. I was thinking you said we had until April 1st. Got it. Cool. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share. I'm going to share a link to this stream for anybody in the Deals for Devs project inside of Discord. Streaming, migrating to Prisma for our project. All right. So what we want to do is we want to work with Xata and do that with Prisma. So Xata just basically gave you full access to Postgres, and now I want to do that with Prisma so that we can have an easier way to manage schemas and do migrations and that sort of stuff, which should be pretty cool. Let's see. Stoney said your Twitch live notification came from YouTube TV. I was catching up with some videos. Wait, what? What does that mean? My Twitch live notification? Because I'm also streaming to YouTube, so it may have popped up on YouTube, Sony. I don't know. Alex Swenson asking, why are you going to Prisma, no Drizzle? I've never used. I've used Prisma before. I like it. I've never used Drizzle. I know people love it. Why would you recommend going to Drizzle instead of Prisma? I don't think it matters a whole lot, but I would be really curious, especially if you have experience with both, to know what you love about it. So your stream popped up on YouTube since I always join on Twitch. I call it. Oh, Stony. Okay, fair enough. Got it. Cool. So let us open up some code. And I'm going to pull from the dev branch. So all of our PR should go, or unless there's a specific reason not to, should go to dev branch. And then I'm going to check out a new branch, and we'll call this a feature. And we'll say migrate to Prisma. I'd see, man. Hopefully we'll be at something in person sooner. Let's see. Alex, Drizzle is faster, provides a better way to manage schema. That's so one thing you'll have to do is tell me why. So without like some sort of reason, that's just opinion. So why do you think it has a better way to manage schema? Also, Alex said it really depends how much load you have and how complex your relations are. But for scale, I have started with Drizzle. Interesting. So we don't have this is a fairly small project right now. I mean, definitely really small in terms of data right now. So I don't have any immediate concern over scale, although it's something obviously for us to pay attention to. Um, you can also do types with Xata. That's interesting. Huh. We do I want to try something new? Let's see. Let's just go to the Drizzle homepage to look. Drizzle ORM. Heard really good things. Also, the new AstroDB uses Drizzle by default. So Drizzle has always been fast. We just wanted. So if you are big into types, it's cool. Check out their benchmarks. Prisma uses single file schema. And in Drizzle, one can segregate schemas into multiple separate files and integrate them in a single. I doubt that's a huge deal for me right now. Not saying that it couldn't be useful later. Use Drizzle. It's a headache when switching from Prisma, but very fun. I kind of been wanting Prisma on production is a bit heavier. Was anyone affected by Planet Scale taking? Was anyone on the free tier before they took that away? By the way, Zeta is a sponsor of Drizzle too. Drizzle Studio. So these are has rust binaries that are a bit heavy. Interesting. You don't usually see like rust associated with heavy. Like usually that's something that people say is pretty light. All right, let's do Prisma. Or excuse me. I completely talked myself out of it. Let's do it. Let's check out a new branch called Drizzle. We'll go this way. Okay. So let's go to documentation. Where's like a getting started? Headless ORM. Why SQL like? Why not SQL like? Queries API. Serverless. Cool. Oh, they have 100 seconds video. Nice. Mahmood, he's great. They've got all sorts of. Okay. They got all the big players referencing Drizzle. I was using free tier now. I just run Postgres and a Docker Compose now for local. Very cool. Okay, so where column types learn probably migrate Drizzle with torso guides tutorials. Huh, that's actually not interesting. Do they have okay? So let's go to Drizzle Zeta. See what we get. So here's okay. So their integration. So Drizzle type safe ORM focused on type safety installation. Drizzle currently only works with Zeta database that are set up with the ability. Yes. Okay. So we need to actually do that part. That's one thing we need to do. And I think to do that, right now I have to create a new database. So one nitpick: docs are awful with Drizzle. That's actually a big thing. That's a big deal. So that's worth noting. So I think I have to go into workspace settings and new databases will have the option yes. So I guess that's just saved. Let's actually just make sure that's saved. Yes. All right. So let's go to databases. And this will be deals for devs and enable. This is in beta. So you can see the Postgres logo in here. Nice. Okay. I have my HTTP endpoint. I have my Postgres endpoint. Cool. Nice. Have you tried NeonDB? It's a Postgres database as a service. I haven't tried it. I know Mahmood works there. He's awesome. I've heard good things. So I haven't tried it myself. Kevin, what sort of DDoS protection are you thinking about specifically? All right, and then we'll need to install a newer version of the Zeta client. So we'll need to install what was it, Zeta IO or Zeta client, Zeta client next. Just open up. Uh, is this a typo? Because I thought it was Zeta IO. If we look at Zeta, I think it, that may be a typo. Zeta.io. Any type. I'm just scared of having a $500 bill out of the blue. Fair enough. Most providers will have some sort of cap for you, or a lot of them will, so you can configure like I don't want to pay this much, or if you're just on a free tier and don't have a credit card down, then like they just shut your thing down if you get really high traffic or something. So those are things that you can options that you can pay attention for. So I bet time to put up a PR. Yeah, that's exactly what I was just thinking about. So do they have a shoot? How do I get to all right, let's do this. I guess we'll have to go this route. And let's go to docs. Docs for Zeta. Provide some knowledge about microservices based on PubSub concept. Okay. Shiv, I'm sorry. I actually saw your question about that earlier and I forgot to respond. So, do you have specific questions about microservices based on PubSub concept? So, this is something I've worked with before. Um, but Alex, free tier is the answer. Absolutely. But yeah, let me know like specific questions that you may have. All right. So, is this so inside of here? This is MDX docs. Connect to Postgres. Getting started. Oh, connect. Okay, so under. Okay, now I see how it's laid out. And then we have JavaScript. It would be nice for them to have links in here to like contribute or something. Is that not a thing? I guess not. Maybe something I suggest. Kind of want to learn to manage my own little basic VPN. Could be a great exercise. It's not something I am interested in doing, but it definitely could be useful to learn. So, Chrissy Seabid on Twitch, what's going on? I am getting. Nuh-uh. Is there really? Did I just miss it? Oh, he, Mark. Great call. Great call, Mark. So, Chrissy, I'm actually now the title is a lie. I'm working on migrating to Drizzle, and then we'll see how it goes. Okay, so if I search at latest, no, is that not in this? So Zeta/client. How is that not showing up on this page? Is this the right page? So Drizzle docs, yes. Drizzle with Zeta, yes. Oh, I wonder if this is a call out that comes from something else. Docs enable Postgres. Oh gosh. Okay, so where does that come from? Next, not latest. I did next. Wait, who are you correcting? I may have said, oh, I was searching. Sorry. I was searching for latest, but what we should be searching for is at next. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Yep. Good call. Jordan's like, it's right there. Okay. So I should be able to edit, should be able to fork this repo, should be able to come down. Wait, what? It has it there. Aha. Okay. So this is that component. Wait, let's go back. This is that component. It's in. Okay. So here's the thing. This is MDX. So this is its own component that is created somewhere else in the documentation. This is the stuff that was actually right. So that does confirmed to me that it should be IO, which is what I thought. So now, unfortunately, how how do I find out where that's copy line, copy? I don't. Oh, that's all right. By the way, back to the question on Shivum. So I think you're asking much too big of a question, and I can't tell you how to deploy it. I think the big thing is when you look at pub sub architecture is when you're communicating, you're spreading things out into microservices that each have their own responsibilities, each can run independently of each other, and the way they communicate is through queues slash topics. And so what happens is if I need to communicate with someone else, it's an asynchronous architecture where I could just throw a message on a queue, and then that other microservice will process that thing eventually asynchronously. Which I imagine you probably have that basic understanding already. I won't have like super specific things to say. So how you deploy that, I don't know like what specific pieces fall into that. So I'm not really sure. But general architecture is you have a bunch of microservices. They can run independently. You have communication layer between them, which is sending messages to queues, and they can be processed asynchronously. To put a ref in table schema. Oh, Alex, that's interesting. Okay. Okay, so we have to figure out, does this not have to be okay? If you're an MDX, don't you still have to import that component? Is it referenced like later on? Docs enable. This is for deals for devs. Yep. Docs enable. But right now I'm adding a PR for documentation on well, maybe. So I don't know how to get to that. I don't know. Yes, you have to import. That's what I thought, but how, like, where is this coming from? And then we have tab code reference there as well. What would cloning do? I mean, I can clone, but what would clone, just an easier way to search? Is that what you're saying? Um, okay, fine. Let's go here, get clone code code MD. No. Code dot slash MDX docs. Not dot get. I don't know why I thought that was. So working on migrating to leverage, in this case, Drizzle as an ORM to then interact with um, a Xata database. So there's a couple benefits. One is the ability to like push schemas and control that from code, which I think will make it a little easier for onboarding, and then also to seed the database with a script as well. Oh, I forget about dot. That's a great tip, Mark. That would have been much easier. Um, so then what was does anybody remember the component I was searching for? So if I would go into here and it was docs enable. Joop, joop. Wait, but where does that come from? Wait, wait, this component's not defined anywhere? Anyone else super confused? All right, here's what I'm gonna do because I'm spending too much time on this. I'm gonna take a screenshot. I'm going to go to Slack behind the scenes and just send them a message. And now I'm here on Twitch. What's up, Alex? Will AI replace programmers? No. Will it change the way we work? Yes. All right, let me send them a message really quickly. There's a typo box for enabling express connections and data. I tried to do a PR, but I can't find where the component referenced in MDX file is defined. Anyways, let's see. Zeta slash client should be Beta IO client. And let's send them a link. Okay. Have you ever heard of someone crowdfunding to get an app developed? I haven't heard of that. I don't know much about just crowdfunding in general. So I don't know. I feel like I come in to chat to sidetrack you. Jordan, you are not a sidetracker at all. Not at all. Okay. So here's what we actually need to run. So let's close this. I should get rid of this, but we want to go back into deals for devs. We want to install Drizzle and the latest version of the Zeta client, which in this case, I think I already ran this. So then I have the next and then whatever this thing is. And if you want to use the TCP client, you'll need to install. This could use some clarification because I'm not sure why would I want to use a TCP client. So I'm going to skip that for now. All right, Drizzle works with Zeta as HTTP client or a TCP client. HTTP client doesn't create or persist connection to Zeta server, while the TCP client does and can be used for better performance with a high number of requests. Okay, so to get Chris, what's going on? Chris, so we have completely swapped and we're trying Drizzle now by popular demand instead of Prisma. So we'll see how this goes. So to create an instance, probably worth updating the title. Yeah. Can I do that easily? Migrating to Drizzle and Drizzle. Let me know if this changes in the. Oh, Chris, if you happen to want to join, you can do that too because I'm in StreamYard, so I can have guests. So if you happen to want to join, feel free. It changes Twitch. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. That worked. Thanks, y'all. So to create, that's interesting. So Drizzle, you can import from. Okay, so Drizzle has a sub package or whatever called Zeta HTTP, and then you wrap that with the Zeta client. Interesting. That's cool. Okay. And then you could do pool of connections. So you have more control over how you actually connect to your database, which is not something I need right now. And then have our Zeta. So full example of using Drizzle with Zeta. We get Drizzle PG table. So they get the Zeta client. We create this. I wonder what PG table is this defining results? Okay. That's the PG example. PG table is how you define a schema. No Postgres. Okay. Okay, so I'm putting this together. So this is the PG example. It's like appropriate example. Well, it's doing node Postgres. So I assume that's actually, but it's not doing configuration for like pooling or anything. So PG table, as Alex said, is how you create or define a schema. Right. Is that where Zod factors in? Where does text come from? Is text imported from PG core? Interesting. PG table defines the table schema, then you push the database, and then one can import the Drizzle client, perform queries. Fair enough. Currently recommend manually defining the schema like in the example above. Alternatively, you can try to generate the schema. Ooh, that's interesting. Code imports modules from Drizzle ORM libraries, also brings in the quality function for value comparison, get Zeta client. Captain Hollywood, thanks for joining. Good to see you. So Drizzle has another package to create Zod types. So I'm not gonna lie, some of this is getting more complicated than I thought. Docs, Zod. Kind of kidding. Just more to learn. I can join. All right, let's bring Chris in. Doop, 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 doop. All right, Chris will be here in a second. Actually, Chrissy, I don't know if you're still here. You're welcome to join as well if you want to. Don't know if that's something you're interested in. Not so. Drizzle Zod. I think that's what we want to do. Drizzle's a lot, but it's far more lightweight than Prisma. Cool. So let's install Drizzle Zod. And we were talking about this on our podcast today. One thing that would be really good for examples like this is like, where does this file go? Yeah, Chrissy, if you wanted to join the stream, you can. So Chris is going to join, and then if you wanted to, no pressure at all. I can send you the link to join in here as well. So this is where Drizzle's on create insert schema. Chris, what's going on?
What's going on, man? This is exciting.
We'll see. Got to figure it all out. Is that my echo? Or
no, that's me. Hold on, I gotta close you out of here. Okay, cool.
Dude, this is Chrissy.
Really
You're good.
cool.
No worries. Yep, you're welcome, Chrissy. So I'm looking. One of the things I think that's really nice with Prisma, just in comparison here, because I feel like I'm a little bit lost immediately, is Prisma has like kind of a set place where you define your schema, and it's like I don't have to think about it. So I'm not quite sure. Like, where am I running this code to create insert schema? Create insert schema.
Or were you pulling it from? Is inserted user compute to validate API?
Insert user schema. Okay, so we're schema for inserting user, for selecting. And I'm like really not sure.
Yeah, I don't see it exporting anywhere either.
Well, this is a lot of things that I just off the bat, none of this immediately makes sense to me, like what I'm doing. So Alex says schema can either be in a db/schema.ts or in a folder called schema where it references all TypeScript files. Okay, so let's start with that. So inside of db schema, and I guess I would do that at the root or in the source. db, I would assume in source. Don't. Mark, thanks for joining. Source lib db. Okay, so we actually have lib, so we could create lib server db. Why server? Just out of curiosity. db and schema ts mentioned here, just so I know what is specifically for server side. So this won't. Remember, I'm using SvelteKit. Okay, so I don't think I need server then in that case, right?
You could put it anywhere you want it in there. It's just a way to identify it. Yeah.
So we have db schema.
Yeah,
like that. Okay. And like with Prisma, they give you a default. Like when you do a Prisma init or whatever, they give you a default place where it goes. Which I assume you customize if you wanted to, but I don't know. I will say immediately, like there's kind of a lot that's really not clear just quickly as I'm getting into it, but we'll see.
Just at first glance, it looks like a lot of setup where, like you said, with Prisma, it's just boom, there it is. You set up your table once you understand the syntax, and that's it. There's no other. And then you do your DB pull for the types, and it takes care of everything for you.
Great. Yeah. Create insert schema. Refining fields, useful if you want to change the fields before they become null on the final schema. This is where the Drizzle team can improve a lot, isn't it? Yeah. I absolutely would have expected an init of some sort.
I'm
Okay,
looking at the
so
docs too.
multiple questions. I don't know where this actually applies anything. So I'm pretty lost on that. Like where so I guess you'd run like a Drizzle push and it would pull from this file. Oh, also we should go back to what were the Zeta docs? Drizzle was Zeta.
That's what I was
Um
looking at too. I was looking at the Xata docs to see if they had anything.
HTTP client. So we do that. TCP, do that. Need to adjust the max value to match your okay. So this is after you this is not defining a schema. This is just I don't think PG table.
No,
Or you
you're
said
just go ahead. Sorry.
well, I'm not sure actually, because this is
There's creating the instance. Okay, I get that piece. Create a pool of connections. Got it. Full example using Drizzle.
hmm. I'm actually really lost at
Drizzle.
what does what. So drizzle za.
Oh. Oh, I think I get it, man. Okay. So if you go to the Drizzle, just go to the Xata Drizzle page and go to the example that they have in the Xata docs. Okay.
This one?
So really what you're doing here is you're just setting up one file. So this is like I don't know if you've ever used Kaisley, ORM, but what you're doing
Mm,
here is up at top. So you got your get Xata client, great. Your actors, you're defining the table. So whatever tables you're going to use there, great. Then when you start doing the queries down below, see where it says select name actors dot name. You're
mhm.
defining the actors table up there in const actors. So const actors dot name should be a text name, text city. Um,
But that something's weird about that though. Because in the select, this would be the actual value associated with this key. Like,
oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
or
that
is this
is
saying this is mine? What? This is what I name
select.
it, and
Oh,
this is
you're
what the actual.
defining it name. So that's you. You're defining it the name, returning the actor's name with that. Same thing with city. So you that name could be actor name. It could be,
This
you
is
know,
just an alias, which is a weird first example because you would typically just like take the name of the column as just the name of
yep,
the column and not like
yep.
overwrite that. Um, Alex,
Which makes you
I'm cool
wonder.
with you. Alex, you want to send me a message and is this you? No. Or is it? No, that's somebody else. Alex, if you send me a message in Discord, I can invite you on.
But that's how I'm reading this. So like in other ORMs that I've used, like Kaisley, it's kind of a similar setup where you kind of define you define your own types and each one's different. So this is their way of defining, hey, your ID is going to be a text and it's going to be primary key. This is text, this is text.
Mhm.
Um, and then you just define whatever. So you could do export, you could probably do an async query down there below. And so we would define the tables up top there using, the actors table, or in this instance, it would be deals table. Or it would be
Well,
category. Yeah.
I'm wondering where do we actually push the schema?
You don't. So the query below is going to reference the schema above. So when you have const actors down there, so your
Ye
query needs to be in the same place as that's how I'm reading this. I could be completely off, but this is referencing that. So either one, you create a schema file and you would export const actors, export const, or in our case, create a schema table, export the table name. So in our instance, it would be deals, it would
Mhm.
be giveaways, and maybe categories. And then create a queries one, import those from there, and then you can reference them in the query, or you just keep it all in one file. Based on the
Yes.
Xata example. When
But
I look at this, I'm
where, like,
confused.
how do
Yeah.
you actually take a code-defined schema and push it to the database? Like, that's the first thing I would want to see is that I
Mm,
could actually define a schema successfully and then push it.
right, kind of like you do the migration. So really, we're looking for
Hmm.
how do you click on migrations under manage schema?
And I'm still not clear on like how they're defining
Yeah, I don't
schemas. Declare schema.
my
So this is doing just tables, and they're getting stuff from, like, we would get stuff from PG Core, I think.
correct. Yep, yep.
Alex, what's up?
Yo, what's going on? Can you
Hey,
hear me?
Alex, how's it going? Nice to meet you.
Thanks for joining this exploratory stream.
Yeah, no problem. I went through a very similar thing as you're going through right now when I was trying to figure this out. So, Chris is right in terms of how you define your table schema. The
Hmm.
way that I did this is I ended up creating a folder where I have different table schemas, and it's just exported from there. And then I can
Okay.
reference that elsewhere in my server side code wherever I need it.
So
That makes sense.
if we were to just start with one file, we have the db.ts file.
Mm-hmm.
What would we be going back to defining a schema like this using PG table?
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
So
here's the question, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Then back to what you were asking, James. I know in Prisma, once you define your table, you run a command and it migrates that over. So it goes over to the database and does it all for you. Do we need to go do that separately and then link the two? Or is there a way in Drizzle that actually goes out and migrates it for you?
So if you're using Postgres or something Postgres based, it creates a SQL migration script. It does some code gen that you can add to version control. Based off of the PG tables that you define. And part of setting up Drizzle, you end up putting a path for where Drizzle expects all your Drizzle related code to be, and it'll do code analysis and generate the migrations.
And then do
That
you
you
have
can.
to take that migration file, copy the SQL in there, and then copy it into whatever Xata has, or is there a command that you
Oh,
can
there's a
run?
command to run it.
Got it. Okay.
So I know that I sent a link to the PR where I have most of my Drizzle stuff set up, and it's let's see. Do you already have a Drizzle config TS in your project?
no, I didn't know that was the thing.
Yeah, it's a thing. Let me see if I can find the docs for this and for everybody watching.
Again, like a Drizzle
it's
init would
weird.
make a huge difference.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because they don't even have. I mean, I guess this is, well, so like I would just be looking for on their docs, just get started. And they don't really have that. So they do some specific things in here, but they don't have, like, if I'm just getting started, they have tutorial and they have a to-do app. So they install Drizzle ORM, Drizzle Kit, database interactions, Drizzle Kit packages used as dev dependency for handling configuration. TP set up Drizzle config file. Configuration. It's funny, they don't even, this is actually something we talked about on the podcast earlier. For documentation, is like, I want to know, where does this specifically go? Like this, it's called
Yeah,
drizzle.config.ts. Is that just
it's
in the root?
project root. It's project root.
Okay.
Okay.
So you would create in the root this file. And let's just see what kind of stuff is in here. So config is coming from Drizzle Kit. Is that something that you install as well?
Yes. Drizzle Kit is the tool for like Drizzle Studio, for the generate command, all of that. It's all in Drizzle Kit.
Okay. Oh, the other thing we can do, Chris, is we can have people run Postgres locally. And not
I
even,
love that.
well, that's not quite true. So there's some things that you can only do through Xata, like file attachments. So we'll
And
have to
that's
look
going to be the
in.
photos. Any photos associated with the deal is the
Mhm.
file attachment, right?
Yep. And any of the other things that we take advantage of, like search, is going to have to be the Xata SDK.
Got it. That makes sense.
So I think we still have the need for that. So I should have a database URL. Actually, I need to change this because I don't know what's the exclamation here. Is that a syntax that I'm like completely oblivious to?
Yeah, that's to force TypeScript to say this is defined, whether or not the
What?
.env
Okay.
is defined for it.
It's like using any.
Yeah, it's like, hey, TypeScript, this exists.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with
I
me.
did not know that. Actually, interesting. Why? Make sure I show the right file. Do we not have? Oh, so Xata just has a database key or an API key. It doesn't
Right.
have a URL by default. So we will need inside of this file. We will need database URL. Okay, so we have that as part of our schema. Then we want to get that thing from process.env and then export that thing. And then this actually should give us IntelliSense now for, even though I haven't added it to my environment variable file. Okay, so there's that. And then now it makes sense where you're saying that this could go anywhere. So we're going to put our schema inside of source/db.
Yeah, why not?
All right, so source. Oh no, we did libdb. So
Lib.
source lib/db and db schema.ts. Out, we'll go to .drizzle. That's fine. Driver is going to be Postgres. Yes. And we have our connections, which we need to get. Okay. So is that all, like for the config file, Alex? Is that all that we need to do there?
Yeah, I think that's everything you need to do there. I ended up creating some convenience scripts in my package JSON for DrizzleKit, but you don't need to do that yet.
Okay. Quick question in the chat from Zam. Great question. Overview of why we're migrating. So right now, up until a couple days ago, Xata, you could only access Xata through their SDK. It's got HTTP endpoints, but you didn't have direct access to Postgres. Xata has now opened their platform, so you have direct access to Postgres, which allows you to use an ORM. So one of the things we specifically wanted to do was be able to define schemas in code, and then also push those schemas from code and make that easier for other people to be able to set up their own environment in Xata instead of having to create the UI or create a schema, replicate a schema in the UI. Then we can also do seed scripts so people can get set up a little bit easier. So that's the primary driver for what we're doing.
Which we probably should add that as another issue to the list, James, is create a seed
Seeding.
script so we can track
absolutely.
it.
Yep.
Here's the interesting thing. Why, if you look at the Drizzle documentation and Xata, it says nothing about any of this setup, right? It just says, here's the usage, go for it. All right.
Yep. I'm going to put a message in Xata with some of those thoughts.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I noticed that it's in a similar style to Lucia Auth, if you're familiar with that, where you kind of, Lucia Auth is a very similar thing. It's kind of like Auth.js, but where you have all of the stuff that you need, but if you want to use it, you have to write your own logic for it.
Got it.
Which is nice because it's framework agnostic. Whether you're using SvelteKit, React, Next, Nuxt, any of that, you can implement it. You just have to have a lot of experience in order to do it yourself.
So All right, so I still need to get the URL for this and add it in. Why don't I actually? I'm going to do that, and then while I'm getting that, Alex, do you want to talk a little bit more? I guess I need the Postgres endpoint, not the HTTP endpoint, probably because it's using a Postgres.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been using the Postgres driver.
Yeah, I think that's got to be, and that's also missing in documentation here.
Yeah, they do say Drizzle works with Xata as an HTTP client or TCP client, but it doesn't create a persistent connection to the server. They basically they're saying use TCP client. If you have a high number of requests, you'll get a better performance from the TCP client than the HTTP client. I think in our instance right now, it's
this is not very obvious at all. Okay, so I think that I set database URL correctly. For what it's worth, I'm setting the database URL to be the Postgres URL, which I think is what it will need. And then what happens is you use that Xata client to get wrapped around Drizzle, and the Xata client, I think, will figure out what the details are for HTTP and work that way.
Sounds like it would just use the TCP connection directly.
Again, I don't know.
I don't know anything about Xata, so this is where your expertise would come in.
Well, and you wouldn't be able to use any TCP stuff if you're doing serverless.
No, you definitely can.
Do they just spin up and like connect and disconnect?
Yeah, at that point you would end up wanting to have connection pooling set up so that where the pool would create a persistent connection, and then the TCP connect disconnect would happen, but it wouldn't overwhelm your server.
But from my understanding, if it's in serverless, none of those connections are even like the pooling is not going to like stick around. So it would be the equivalent of just making transactional connections and then getting rid of it, I would think.
It is the connection pooling ends up acting as a proxy where there's a persistent connection between the pool and the database, but the pool or your app ends up in a serverless context making queries to the pool and then disconnecting. So you can have many, many, many connections to the pool, be they short-lived or long, but it all ends up as one connection between the pool and the database.
Okay. I'd be curious. This is a very deep, different conversation of performance of that versus HTTP.
I don't know. I haven't used a database with
that
HTTP.
has an HTTP layer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know that was like PlanetScale adding their HTTP layer was a big deal because then it enabled, I thought, them to do serverless in a way that they hadn't been able to before. But
that was probably their own implementation of connection pooling is the HTTP piece.
Yeah, that I don't know. Okay, so let's say we have our config file. We then have, and I can come back to my code. We then have a basic table. Like, let's just do this for dummy stuff right now where we have actors. How would we push this schema to our database?
So I'm going to send you a couple of different scripts that you can add to your package JSON that I've found to be useful. I don't know if I got that through StreamYard or...
yeah, I came through. No, it came in the private chat. Oh, those are nice. Okay.
Visual Studio. Okay. Generate. Migrate. Okay.
Yeah. So assuming you have your config set up correctly, you should be able to run Drizzle generate, and it'll create a a SQL migration.
Drizzle generate.
Yep.
And I guess are we running generate instead of migrate because it's the first time? Like after this, it would be migrate?
After this, it would be migrate. And every time you make a change to your schema, you have to generate the migration.
And then migrate again. Got it.
Say that one more time.
So every time you make a change to your schema, say you added you wanted to move from ID to UUID as your primary key, Drizzle will do analysis on your schema and create a SQL script that will do that on the database. Yeah.
So then you have to run generate and then migrate.
Yeah. Okay. Correct.
Shivam asks, can switch DAS to the other one? What's the DAS? I'm not sure what you mean, Shivam. Okay, so if I run, we'll just see what happens. Generate.
All right, what's wrong?
This is a code thing. So schema transforming consts to the configured target environment. Is this saying it's trying to do ES5, not ES6?
Why is it trying to? Did you install Drizzle Kit?
Yes. That one. Oh, someone's saying, I doubt that's the error, but good point. So, Drizzle Kit should be a dev dependency. So there that is. And then
transforming const to the configured target environment is not supported yet.
So history lesson for people. Let and const are ES6 features and aren't available in ES5. I don't know where this is trying to, why this is trying to convert to ES5. That's not in like, target.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I would switch that to like ES next or something else.
Yeah, I would use ES next as well.
Why would that be the default for, like, I would just think that's a reasonable default if it's what Next.js gives you by default.
Oh, interesting.
I think because there are some people that still need to support IE or old versions of Edge. It's a poor default at this point.
Okay.
Now that we've standardized around ECMAScript modules.
What is ES Next specifically? I've never understood any of these configuration details for TypeScript.
Neither have I. This is very educational.
Like ES5 is clear for me. I don't know what ES Next is.
ES Next just means the most current ECMAScript standards that TypeScript supports, I believe.
Because that seems like that would be really dangerous. Because I don't know. Maybe are all the browsers just updated to the next one like very quickly?
I'm gonna look.
Sony's saying Next is the most recent Arcar on YouTube. What's going on?
Yeah, so for each year, like ES 2022 is a valid target. And ES Next just means literally the latest version. Browsers are usually pretty fast about implementing that. You can do some stuff with Babel to force it to be transpiled back to an older version if you need to. But I've never had a problem with using ES Next. Let me...
I had an ice cube. I don't want to crunch it like in my microphone. But also, I wonder. So why does that not go through the same TypeScript transformation? Transforming const to like everything. I use const everywhere else in the code, and that's not a problem when it builds. So I don't know why it's built or why it's a problem in this.
Probably because it's trying to execute with like TS node under the hood somewhere.
Is that a dependency on Drizzle?
That seems.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's an interesting. Like, I feel a little uncomfortable with ES next.
Let me look what I have as mine.
No schema changes, nothing to migrate.
Yeah, especially when it hasn't caused us issues up to this point, James.
Yeah. Reading config file, Drizzle config TS says 0 tables.
I don't even have a target defined.
Wonder what the default is. ES3 is the default.
What? That can't.
See, I would think ES5 is a safe bet there, and I'm hesitant to change that.
You could probably do ES6 as a default, or whatever that equivalent is. That'll give you const.
Just makes me a little uncomfortable changing that just because this runs in a different.
Yeah.
All modern browsers support ES6, thankfully now.
Yeah.
So
that part I definitely. Yeah, I definitely feel safe with it. It just feels uncomfortable to be making a decision for the whole thing because one piece runs in a different translation or whatever. So this is saying reading config file. So we have Drizzle config TS. This is referencing the schema file. So from Drizzle config, we go into source lib db schema ts. I don't know that actually ran that file.
You will probably also have to export that const.
I was wondering about that. So it's only going to look at.
There you go.
Okay. So you have to export that thing. So you created a schema SQL migration. If we just look at this, create a new table if it doesn't exist, actors, blah, blah, blah. So that hasn't actually pushed anything to.
Correct. So if you needed to change that migration for whatever reason, you can, and then you can push it, but it'll end up executing that script.
So what's the? So the migrate is the
push.
Okay. So this is not anything against you, Alex, but there's a comment in the chat about this feels like more work than it's worth. This has definitely been more work than I would have originally said it was worth. Again, given my comfort level with Prisma already. And you already said this, Alex, like lack of documentation, not in it. Those two things are actually like really huge. But I do appreciate you being here and helping us out. So
yeah, no problem. You might end up wanting to go back to Prisma just because it's something you're familiar with.
Yep.
I could care less. I just know that there's been a lot of hype around Drizzle.
Yeah, same.
And my own experience has been fairly positive with it, especially because my biggest complaint against Prisma is the performance and their schema, whatever piece that's in as a separate lib that ends up getting deployed with it. It's very heavy.
Do you notice, would you notice a performance on a project that has 2 tables, that's holding maybe 40 deals?
No, you wouldn't notice a big difference there. The scale at which that I've worked with Drizzle is much larger than that. Hundreds of tables, matching people, meeting together in live video chats. Yeah, it's
and that. So I have this whole rant in my head about nothing. No tech stack you choose matters. The only time there's two reasons that tech stacks matter. And this is a little bit exaggerated, but basically one is preference. So like almost all the different options that you have, SvelteKit, Next, Astro, like they can all do the same thing. So your preference becomes really important. And as you have experience and opinions on what works for you, the second thing is scale, because almost everything has intricate details that matter, but only matter at scale. And so if you look at like comparing databases, it's like you could do NoSQL, you could do SQL. It doesn't matter until you're actually building something that has pretty reasonable scale. And
that's at one weak point for Prisma is they at a certain scale, it's
what you'll start to notice.
Yeah, you'll definitely start to notice it.
Yep. Yeah, I'm thinking I might actually make a video of like tomorrow of I tried to migrate to Drizzle and I chose Prisma instead, like a little dramatic thing. And I've heard really good things too. So actually this is a great experience where I've heard so many other people talking about it. And you could see on the Drizzle homepage, they had highlight videos from all the big YouTubers that you could think of. So I'm surprised, honestly, that the docs are this far behind of hand holding.
Yeah, they very much are. They very much are.
Node itself also has a scale issue. Yeah, those are like, that gets into technical details that are beyond me because I haven't worked with Node at scale.
That's the entire reason why Prisma ships a separate binary for their.
Oh, really?
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Because the Node implementation is slow. JavaScript itself is slow, so they end up doing a lot of that in Rust.
Yep, and that's why you see things like Rust and Go, and I mean, if you go further back, like C++ and C and stuff. And we had stuff like that at FedEx that couldn't be written in Java because it wasn't fast enough for the things that we needed to do versus C+ or C at the time.
C, yeah. Nate has a specific question. Nate, go ahead and ask it because Alex is the guru of all things Drizzle right now on this call.
He's saying Prisma requires a 2 megabyte runtime or something that doesn't do great with cold starts.
Yes, that's the other part. Cold starts because it has to. Yeah, because it has to spin up the binary in Rust, and that has like a like at least a second overhead, I think. So your cold starts could take like over a second to respond, which
interesting.
For small apps, that's fine, but for large apps and intensive queries, it starts to have an effect.
Well, especially when you're running on, if we're deploying on Vercel, and there's a 10-second runtime on their edge environments per call. So
is that edge specifically or serverless in general?
I think it's all serverless in general. They have a 10-second limit.
Yeah. I'm going to try to run this migration really quickly just to see if we actually get something to.
Oh.
So if you run Drizzle Studio, you should see the database.
Okay. So to make table compatible with Xata UI and API, we need to create some internal columns to manage migrations. This will not result in data transformations or deletions. I wonder if this is going to have any issue with. So that's fine. But I wonder if we'll have any issues. Like, so here's what I want to test.
Make some changes.
State. Let's generate a schema. Let's migrate it. Is state column in actor table created or rename? Create. That's interesting.
Oh, so they give you the option. Is it a create? Are you moving the ID to state, version to state? So basically, I get it. Okay.
Well, I think it's recognizing that those are columns that it didn't know about. The Xata ones.
That's what I think too.
I think this may be an error.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't play super nicely with
Cause constraint, new ID key on table. All column conflicts.
I would guess this is why Drizzle is in beta.
Oh, is it really?
Here.
With Xata.
With Xata, yeah.
With Xata, yeah.
Cannot drop index. Huh. So the one thing that is really cool, and I'm probably actually going to call the stream because I've got something I need to do in 45 minutes. I want to go eat and take a break. But I will probably switch back to Prisma.
Yeah.
Until we experience any issues, just for comfort level. The other thing that, and it seems like there may be an experimental way to do this with Drizzle, but with Prisma, you can also pull the schema and have it generate based on what the tables already have.
Yep.
That
which
is
very
also
useful.
a thing with Drizzle,
Okay.
but I don't know a whole lot
Yeah.
about
Okay.
it. Either way, it sounds like Prisma is the way forward. And as the person who suggested Drizzle in the beginning, I'm sorry for derailing you.
No derail. I think this provided more insight
Yeah.
than anything. It really helped James to figure out, yeah, maybe we'll go with Prisma until we do a little bit more playing around with it, and or James talks with his people that he knows over at Xata and some other areas. So
I'm typing up some more notes for them.
Really interesting though.
And
I've always wanted to see it. Yeah.
And I've been wanting to try out Drizzle.
Yeah.
So this is a good way. Oh, Nate's got a link to
at this
introspecting
point
with DB pull. Yeah,
the introspecting piece. That's where I'd start to go through the docs of Drizzle Kit because they have a lot of cool stuff in there for that. Just for anybody who wants to continue looking at Drizzle.
I've got a few more notes. 1 second. Keep
But
talking.
for this, it sounds like Prisma is the way forward because it's what you know. And full disclosure for anybody from the Drizzle team that might see this, I'm not hating against you guys. I'm giving constructive criticism on your docs.
Yep, same. How to do a quick access of many to many relationships. I may I actually really do need to cut now for myself, so I may let y'all have a conversation offline if you're open to that.
Oh yeah, that's fine, man.
Zam said, what about Torso? Torso also great database. We're using Xata for this project. There's a couple specific features that come along with this file like storage included in the database, like as a first class citizen, is really cool. Search built in, vector storage as well. So those are some cool features that make Xata really interesting. Yeah, I'll let you, Alex, if you don't mind, if you have a way to connect with Nate to handle that question later on, that'd be awesome if you can.
Which question?
Nate codes.
Nate codes, yeah. Can you can see the chat in the StreamYard window, right?
Oh, I see it. My question starts with how to do a quick access of many-to-many relationships. I don't know. I haven't gotten that far in my Drizzle work. There's examples in the docs of how to do many-to-many. Under the hood, all that Drizzle is just SQL. So if you know SQL, you know Drizzle. I think that's one of their slogans. So if you know how to do it with SQL, you can probably figure out what the right functional methods are to use in Drizzle.
Sweet. All right.
Cool.
I'm gonna run. Thanks both of you for joining. We'll do another Prisma version of this probably the next day or two.
Love it.
To try that out. But it was fun to experiment for now.
Nice to meet you, Alex. James, have a good break, man.
Yeah, Chris, good to see you. Alex, thanks for joining. Good to meet you as well.
Yeah, same. See ya.
See y'all.